when I was in Venezuela this week, there were CIA-linked terrorist groups that tried to take me hostage in my hotel. The State Department was aware of that. The U.S. Embassy in Bogota was aware of that. And they did nothing. So they tried to take me hostage.
Did they actually come in the hotel, or they?
Yeah,
They
I
came
was
in
gone.
the hotel. Wow.
I was gone. So people online doxed my location and the hotel I was staying at. And as soon as the Venezuelans saw that, they came up to my hotel room. They said, "We need to get you out right now, right now." Got me out right away. They brought me security, driver, everything like that. And about 2 hours later, there were still other people in the hotel, like other observers and stuff. 2 hours after I left, a guy came in and he started to say, "Oh, I'm a big fan of Jack." He only spoke Spanish. "I'm a big fan of Jackson Hinkle, blah, blah, blah. I want to take a picture of him. Is he here?" "Oh, we don't know." "Oh, can you call his room?"
But knows no English, so he's never heard your interview before.
Yeah, no. He's like, "Can you call his room and just see if he could come down for a few minutes? I want to take a picture with him." And then about 15 minutes after this guy came, 2 cars, truckloads of men. I don't know if they were armed, but probably.
Probably, yeah. They probably were.
They came up the street. It's like this narrow street, and they drove to the end of the street. And apparently they were watching the front door of the hotel, just sitting there. And then they drove away, and then they drove back about 30 minutes later and sat there again for a little bit and were watching the hotel. Like full truckloads of guys.
Jesus.
Okay, but so anyways, but the last thing I'll say is most of the stuff that's censored culturally in Russia and China, gay stuff, racial stuff, sexuality stuff, they want to protect the children. On social media, they really care about that.
Yeah.
So I think that is one thing. I believe in free speech, but I think that we should censor that stuff here because I don't think it's like reasonable to allow for mass media that we know is being digested by kids to be promoting that ideology to the youth.
Yeah, I know. It's like for political stuff, I'm a free speech absolutist. For some of this porn, I think it should be pulled off the internet. I never realized I grew up in a different generation, so it was like almost impossible to get porn. But talking to some of my younger friends, a lot of them say they started like watching it as a kid and got addicted young. I looked up the average age of porn. Kids start consuming porn at 11 years old. That can't be healthy for the mind, just consuming that.
No.
And you literally just go on the internet and tip, and it's just everywhere. Endless amounts of just the filthiest.
It's going to scar.
It's
going to scar every subsequent generation that we don't actually. Okay, and people say, "Oh, but Jackson, that's you're not allowing everything on the internet." You're not, but okay, but we have laws against CP already.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, so maybe we should just take that law that's already on the books that everyone agrees with and just extend it a little bit further to protect a lot more people.
I think they just pulled it off the internet again. It would solve the problem. No one wants to walk into stores and buy VHS tapes, or you'd have to go in San Francisco. They used to have these CD rooms where guys would go and jerk off. But no, if you go in there, you know you're a sick pervert with problems. But guys can just be at home, pull out their computer, and it feels normal.
Yeah.
Guys just doing it like every day. It can't be healthy for the head. I mean, grown men too. It starts as children, but it's I didn't realize it was a big problem until you start talking to people like, wow, this is actually a big epidemic in the U.S.
Yeah. So the last question you asked was about, we were talking about the media, and then you asked one more.
Oh, the people that, a lot of people I know that leave these communist countries say bad things about it.
Of course. I mean, and there's a few things with that. I mean, of course, you're going to have people that disagree with communism that leave. That's for sure. But also, a lot of these people, especially the ones that are promoted in the media, they are, in some way, shape, or form, they're incentivized to come to America and say these things. So South Korea, for example, they pay people in North Korea, small country, relatively poor people, South Korea, and they admit this. It's on like South Korean news agency websites. $800,000 if you come from North Korea and say bad things about North Korea and South Korea.
Really?
Yes. And sometimes there's people who even want to go back because they understand that grass is not always greener, and they can't go back, because they're not allowed, because now they're in the intelligence apparatus in the West, and now that causes problems going back home. Venezuela has a huge issue right now because there was a lot of people that left when the main reason why people leave is because their countries come under economic attack, and then sanctions, country falls into chaos for several years until they can pick up the pieces and rebuild with new countries like Russia and China. But Venezuela, okay, it's rebuilding. It's good economy now. It's safe and whatnot. So people want to go back from the U.S. But the U.S. has no embassies in Venezuela. And there was something like Biden offered temporary protective status to Venezuelans who come to the United States. They come here, they get like however many thousands of dollars, housing. So this is the sort of incentive that they get. But now these people from Venezuela are trying to come back to Venezuela because, again, they're seeing America and they're like, I don't know if I want to stay here, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking with the foreign minister of Venezuela this week, and he said, Jackson, we have a huge issue because we have no diplomatic relations with the U.S. So there's no way of us. There are ways, but it's extremely difficult to help people get back to Venezuela who want to come back here because there's no diplomatic relations. And we'd be happy to have those relations, but the U.S. cut it off.
I didn't realize we were like such enemies with Venezuela. I had no idea that was like our enemy.
Obama started it in 2014.
Good old Obama with all his drone strikes and do you want a Nobel Peace Prize for drone strikes or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the other
sides,
thing. People
the
say
left and the right.
Communism is gulags. I'm like, I think we need a few gulags in America for people like Obama.
Some of those people, yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely don't fully agree with you on communism, but I think it's some interesting points. I need to go back and do some reading and more research, and we can rehab this debate.
Yeah,
I haven't read.
You're open-minded. That's what. And we agree on. Like I said, we agree on a lot.
I agree on a lot of the corporate stuff being huge problems. There's, we're completely ran by lobbies and PACs, and we have a problem in our government.
Yeah.
I don't think full communism is the answer. I 100% want free press with all political views. I want, like you said, you would be able to still make more money. Oh, wait, one last question. What do you do with the big corporations when they start getting big? They get a little monitored, or what happens with that once companies blow up, like the Amazons and the...
Well, it just depends on what they're doing, So communism doesn't say, okay, if there's a successful toothbrush company that we're going to shut it down and start seizing it and making toothbrushes for everyone, or like a shoe company or something like that. Communism says that what is in the public interest should serve the people, or what is successful and in the public interest should be governed by the people, and thus the people are reciprocated based on whatever is earned. So it's like the big things: oil, gas, resources, metals.
So you're more taking the resources that belongs to America. Banks,
private debt cancellation. Like 50% of all the taxes we pay go to paying private companies, mostly banks. And that's what most of our national debt is.
We're literally paying interest. People don't understand, we're going to get to a point where we might not be able to pay the interest on the debt. Then they're going to have to start printing money. That's going to cause mass inflation. The regular American doesn't realize how big of a deal this is.
That's the whole idea. It's governing by debt. And it's anti-Christian, first of all. It's sinful. It's satanic. But also, it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. And what do we do with corporations? Well, we cancel the debt, and whatever corporations fall, and they collapse. And America's going to be much better off as a result, I think.
Yeah, no, I want to do some more research, and we'll have this conversation another time. Because like I said, I'm still definitely don't believe in full-on communism, but I think we do have some major problems.
Talk to Eddie. He's
okay,
good.
I'll bring on Eddie.
And he's also got the fighter mindset, so he'd be perfect to talk to.
No, perfect. No, I'll talk to Eddie. I'll bring him on soon.
Cool.
Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about, there's a bunch of subjects. Let's go into Israel a little bit, since that's where we first kind of got to know each other.
You think there's going to be a full war? Scott Ritter and Colonel Douglas McGregor, who is Trump's senior advisor to the Pentagon, have done really excellent. It's speculation, I guess, but speculative reports about the number of Israeli soldiers that have been killed in the war side, because I say there's genocide and there's the war side, and it is far away bypassing any number of IDF soldiers that have ever been killed or injured in action in any military conflict in their country's history. So they're full in on this. And, it's like usually the IDF gets out of any conflict once there's about I think it's usually around 2,000 killed in action, 1 to 3 ratio. So maybe 2,000 killed, 6,000 injured or something like that. That's the maximum they'll ever allow. But what's going on now, I would not be surprised if it's getting up to close 8,000 dead Israeli soldiers.
Wow.
This is This is all in, and that's kind of what they're speculating: 6,000, 8,000 dead, maybe like 15,000, 10,000 injured, something like that. This is a big deal. So I think they're going to go all in.